Japanese philosophy. And it's the idea that there are four important questions you need to answer for yourself. First is, what do you love to do? Second is, what are you good at? The third is, what is there a need for in the world? And the fourth is, what will people pay for? We wanted to give people who didn't have an analytics background, didn't have analytics training, a very accessible, certificate-based way to gain some skill, gain some credibility. I mean, you can go through that program, and like you did, MD, I think you start with a base of knowledge, and by the end, you are ready to join a company as an analyst.
Hi, Kevin. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to talk about, your company. We're going to talk about Google. But before we get to that, and also we're going to talk about data analytics, AI. I hope people are going to watch until the end to get, get your thought and your take on those topics. You are one of the leading experts today in the world, and I'm so happy to have you. But before we get to that, please tell everybody about you.
Yeah, sure, surely, and very happy to be here. Thank you for including me. I am Kevin Hartman. I am associate teaching professor of marketing at the University of Notre Dame's Mendoza School of Business. I spent the previous 11 years or so at Google, where I held a variety of roles. The last role I had at Google was that of Google's chief analytics evangelist, chief analytics strategist, which meant I was Google's global thought leader around everything data collection, data analysis, data storytelling. So worked with Google's biggest brands to help them tackle their challenges with data and become better marketers. I've also spent time at an advertising agency where I led analytics for a long time. I've done some consulting work as well in my past. So that's really me. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I love to connect. Love to hear people in the analytics field at any stage of their careers, either those that are just starting and looking for some direction, as well as those that are seasoned professionals that we can share ideas, help one another grow in their professions.
Thank you so much for what you're doing out there. I'm very proud of one of the course you did at Google, the Google Data Analytics Certificate.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a graduate of that, and it was really helpful. Yes. Despite having an engineering background, it was just so well done. We will definitely talk about it later on, but
you bet.
Also you wrote that great book, and that also your book is great. We can also talk about it later. But so you have your own company, Nore Analytics.
What can you
say about this company?
Yeah, in addition to the teaching that I do full time, I have a little side gig with an analytics company. It's I coming from Google. I recognize and see that very few companies, frankly, use their data, particularly their customer data, effectively. And so the whole objective of Nore Analytics is help companies of all sizes and all different business models in all industries use their customer data better through predictive modeling, through a number of different techniques, really taking all those things that we would do for the large Fortune 200 companies at Google and making that very accessible to any company. So it's just something I do in addition to the teaching that I'm doing full time, and it's been a lot of fun. I love data analytics, and so while I love teaching that in the classroom, doing the work with Nore and what we're attempting to launch there is keeping me close to the business world, keeping me a data analyst and a practitioner, and keeping me involved. And it's been a lot of fun, and I just love it. We've done a lot of great work for a lot of great companies.
So if someone needs some analytics services, they just come in this website, then they reach out to you, right?
Yep, they can contact. We have a contact button there that's very plain and simple. You can also reach me through LinkedIn or Kevin at noreanalytics.com is the email that I'm
Okay.
using as well. So either way, would love to hear from you and anyone.
A company like thinking about cost. So how about the cost of Nore analytics services? Is that something that they can manage?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're very reasonable. We are not, it's just me and a few of my colleagues that have joined forces together. So yeah, we're not charging Google rates as it was. So yes, no, it's a very the idea is to make this accessible
Yes.
because any company will benefit from the analytics work that we are doing.
Yeah, thank you for doing this, especially right now. It's gonna be really interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is great. And you have your blog here, art and science blog.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's some of the work that we I post there is related to classes that I teach and I direct students. There's just an easy way to get them access to case studies, but you can see those case studies at artscience.blog.
okay.
Give them a read. All of them are designed to have a exercise, right, and do some work. If you're in the classroom with me, we can do that hands-on, but you can also use the website and the case studies to just gain some practice, gain some insight, and become a stronger analyst.
Wow, this is great. Great case studies here. So let's talk about your book, Digital
Sure.
Marketing
Yeah.
Analytics. And
Yep.
so I saw you have several editions. So let me
I
see.
do.
I
Yeah.
have the third
There
edition
we are.
with
Ah.
me.
Yes,
So
indeed.
yeah,
Um,
so why making it as editions one, edition two, edition three? Is that like an update on the book?
it is exactly because I'll tell you the reason that book came to be was because I was teaching analytics at a number of different places before I made the transition to it full time. And with all these different schools and all these different students, I couldn't find a textbook that I really liked,
Yes.
mostly because the industry just moves so quickly
Yes.
that if I had my students buy a book, by the time we were done with the class, it was almost outdated. So I decided to write a book that patterns pretty closely the introduction to digital marketing analytics course that I teach. It allows me then to update that very frequently. We're already on the third
Mm,
update. I think I launched it just 3 years ago. So every year, pretty much, we're coming out
new update.
with a new update, right?
Wow.
And it just allows me to, as things change, build those reflections into the book. So rather than publishing 3 books, I've decided to publish the same book 3 times. Which might not have been the best financial decision, but
Right, right.
it's not about financial decisions. It's about keeping the content fresh and relevant, and that's the idea.
That's true. It could be these are three separate books actually, but because you're not looking at the finances that much, so you're doing editions. This looks like when they have, like the Pixel 6, Pixel 7, right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like that Google
Yeah,
mindset or that
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
tech company mindset. Every year you come up with a new version.
Possibly just trying to keep it fresh, just trying to keep things updated.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
always wondering how to write a book in the tech field. I think
yeah.
this is a blueprint that you give in also, because anytime you write a book, let's say you write about AI today, 1 year later,
Yep.
it's kind of obsolete, right?
It is
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
so it's
um and I have my blog. I never really used, as I mentioned, the blog to post much thought. The blog was always there as a case study repository for my students. So that's the book has become a much better way to distribute all of that and to keep it fresh and updated. And I've got a great team, a great editor and designer and others that I work with, so it's always fun to go back and add a bunch of new content. And frankly, I love to write, so
yeah.
it's something that I really enjoy. bringing the new updates to the book.
I also like the format. You did the book like as like a course, lesson 1, lesson 2, right?
Yeah.
And I was
Yes,
wondering
indeed.
if you're going to create an online course for this book, because it's going to be so good if you make it like an online course with Coursera or with Udemy or with your
Well,
own
I appreciate
platform.
that for sure. Yeah. I don't have plans now,
Right.
but I would certainly be open to discussion. I don't know. Notre Dame as well. Like it's a very prestigious school, and we
Yes.
have top students there. But one of the things that I would love to do is engage in some online courses through Notre Dame and just make things more accessible. But it's something that I'm working on now from the inside.
Yeah, that would
So
be great.
we'll see where that goes. Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
great. And it could reach everybody around the world. This is very interesting. I like the opening of the book. I'm trying to get into that if you don't mind. Like in the introduction, the first page, you said, even if you know nothing about digital marketing analytics knows plenty about you. What's a great opening, you know?
It really is the world we live in, right? I thought that summed it up pretty well.
Yeah.
And grab some attention, right?
Yeah.
Because even with the developments that we've seen with cookie deprecation and what Apple has done with ITP and ATT and GDPR and all the
Yeah.
different regulations that are coming, this is still a huge business.
Yes.
Online advertising for brands, and a very effective business, frankly. The reason there is so much investment made by brands in digital advertising is because it works.
Yes.
Right? I mean, sure, you get pretty unparalleled access to consumers and understanding of consumers, but we see that it really does drive behavior. It's how people shop today, right? Using digital and online tools. So it really is a very effective medium. And I love writing the book about it.
And then I just love what you did in the book. You know, you have this different role of data analytics analyst, and you have the data strategist, the data technologist, and the data designer. I always like the way you put in things, like you combining art and science, so you make it really beautiful and easy to read. And also you went from the history of the data analytics from the 1600 to modern time. That's really awesome, like that timeline.
I love that, and I get
that.
a little, like I said, I love this stuff. So I tend to get a little nerdy. I think what strikes me is I got some advice to never read any of the reviews on the book, but I can't help myself because I just want to know what people. And I remember there was one review that particularly took issue with me going that far back and found it boring. I thought, man, I don't know how. I recognize that going all the way back to the beginning of time with something that is so modern and new might feel a little foreign and maybe a little tedious. Yeah. But for me, it's all connected. I mean, we have been, as humans, we have been collecting data, visualizing data, making interpretations of data since we were able to draw maps. Yeah. It's so anyways, I find it really fascinating. You can tell I tend to get kind of worked up about it.
I really loved it because it just put everything into context, like you said very well in the book. And then it makes it also easier to read when you see those little increment going, that was great. I think that's one of my favorite part in the book. Good. If there is anything I'm going to go, I'm going to go back all the time. When I forget, I can open the book and look at, hey, what was happening in 1600, 1700.
Yeah, exactly. More importantly, I wanted understood that, well, and really, and you've read it, right? The takeaway is, we've been doing this for a long time, but it progressed really slowly until it didn't. And just in the last few years, wow, what a change, And I think when you put it in the context of how long this has been going on, you really realize these blue links that we get from our search engine or the ChatGPT or any of these new tools and technologies that we're working with, it is such a dramatic change
Yeah.
on principles that we've really been working through since the beginning of civilization. So I just find it really fascinating and the context really interesting.
Yeah, that was great. Also, if you don't mind, the 1994 AT&T first banner ad with a click-through rate of 44%.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That was
Yeah, you don't get that today.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that, if you find that, you find the AT&T banner ad with the little thing that says, have you ever clicked your mouse right here with an arrow? And
Right.
like there's no real call to action other than to click the thing. And so you don't know what, it's not really well branded for AT&T. It's not apparent that there's a product there. It's none of the kind of in your face engaging advertising that we would see today in display ads. So it was a very, very different and unique approach, but it worked for them for sure.
Yeah, it works really well. Yeah, that part also, I like it. I'm like, wow, that was the first banner ad. Yeah, that's a long way. And then you have the talk about the daily data creation. One thing that really interests me as a YouTuber is the data you put about watching YouTube videos.
Yeah,
it's around 6.2 billion each day.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little industry secret. It's probably much more. Like those are numbers that all of the platforms really keep pretty close to the vest.
Yeah.
Because if you know that number, then
yeah.
you can, and you know how Google and YouTube makes money, you can kind of figure out what their revenues may be. There may be some market manipulation that happens. So they really do keep those numbers pretty close to the vest. The numbers that I cited were all publicly available, and I believe some of it came from a poor Google engineer who let slip a number at a conference years ago, right? And so, like I said, it's that number seems enormous, and it is most likely significantly larger than that. Yeah, so it's a huge platform.
Wow, yeah, that's really impressive, and online videos, which is really big. Yeah, those numbers was really interesting, and to see. And also, you talk about some analytics tools that we can use as in the marketing field, and you have website analytics, content analysis, graph tools, all of that. But just SQL, Python, and R. I just wanted to stop a little bit on that a little bit. SQL is very important. You talked about it. How is it important for a data analyst? And then Python and R in the Google program. It was only R. I think that was. I don't know how was the debate. I don't know if it was. It could be very nice to have a Python course included in the Google course, but R also I think is good. What's your thought on the debate? On the debate Python and R?
It's to your point, right? I mean, look, at the most basic level, analysts can do a tremendous amount of work in spreadsheets, either Excel or Google Sheets. Like that's the place to start and really recognize the power of those tools and the flexibility of them. It's also important to understand some visualization tools like Tableau or Power BI or whatever it is you're using. Some dashboarding tools like Looker and others. All those tools help us visualize data and tell stories. But when it gets to uncovering those stories, this is where SQL, Python, R, that's where they come in, because they can deal with enormous amounts of data, work through them very efficiently and effectively. Sometimes they can be overkill, right? If you've just got a small table, then Excel is perfectly suited for that. But when you do have larger data sets that you're looking to find connections in that might not be apparent to you just looking at the data in a table, then those tools are great. So they're very, very valuable. As far as which is more important, R or Python, frankly, they're the same. They're the same. I mean, you can't code the same, although you can use a tool like Posit Cloud now to launch either R projects or Python projects in the same interface. But the syntax obviously is very different, but they do the same thing. The best advice that I heard And I don't know who to attribute this to, so I have to figure that out. But they said, think of R and Python for exactly what they are, as languages.
Yes.
And if you are moving to a country that speaks a certain language, you would learn that language, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't move to Germany and
Yeah.
learn Spanish,
Yeah.
right? You would learn German. So the advice is, those are languages. Think of the company you're going to work for, or the lab you are joining, or whatever it is. What language do they speak? Do they speak R? Do they speak Python? Find out which one it is and just learn that. And look, these are really sophisticated,
Yeah.
pretty nuanced tools. They can be hard to learn. And it's a little bit much to expect anyone to understand and be very proficient in both R and Python. So we always kind of say choose one or the other. And frankly, in the work that we do at Google, it's primarily done in R.
Yeah.
There's some things that are done in Python, and we have some people who just prefer Python. But for the most part, the work is done in R.
Okay.
It's a tremendous, fantastic statistical based tool, and so it's really valuable.
I like the fact you guys just stick to R despite what everybody's talking about Python, because it forces, I mean, for me, it forces me to learn R. That was the first time I learned that new language, so it was great. And also, some feedback I'm receiving, because I always ask data people about Python and R. Like most people, what they told me is Python, when they try to do graph, representing graph or statistical analysis, they go to R instead of Python. So it's kind of very hard to do those visual or graph with Python, or you have to call a lot of different libraries. But R is very well developed with the ggplot2 libraries, very rich.
Correct. R is a little more elegant there in the statistical side and in the visualization. Python has an advantage in some of the connections to machine learning algorithms and other things, for sure. R is catching up, but when it comes to statistical analysis, that's why R was created, was to do that sort of work. So it's kind of its bread and butter, and it does it very well. Yeah,
the visual is just so good. That was interesting. Data and ethics. Even in the program, you talked a lot about it. People are very worried about, all these ethics around the data. And there's a story, I don't know if you can mention it, like the target pregnancy prediction model. I think that's in the public domain now. So
yes, it is.
There is some ethics you talk about in the book. And what can you share about data and ethics?
It is something that every company needs to think about, because where we are moving is a place, frankly, that Google has been pretty well positioned in for a while, and that is being very transparent with their data. There's really three things that every consumer should understand. They should know who is collecting data on me, how is it being used, and how do I gain access to that data? How do I control it? How do I take it back? So many of the rules, if you look at GDPR, or you look at the California Initiative, California Consumer Protection Initiative, or any of the work that is happening in the data space, is really trying to protect citizens by giving them that transparency, letting them know who's collecting data, how the data is used, and how to get that data back, should they wish, right? The regulations are still somewhat patchwork. So there are ways to kind of navigate through them and collect data that you as a company should not have, but those loopholes are closing pretty rapidly for good reason. At Google, we were quite transparent about where consumers' data was and how they could manage it and see it, right? So they could see the different categories of consumer interest that Google assigned to them, or other kind of data that was being collected, and that data can be very valuable to an advertiser who just wants to make a more relevant, better ad for you. But they need this kind of input. They need to know what you like and what you don't like. They need to know. Sometimes, frankly, where you are.
Yeah.
If I am, say, a local ice cream shop,
Yeah.
uh, and I want to put an ad in front of somebody,
Mhm.
I can't send that ice cream to someone states and states away. So by understanding where someone is, then I can target my market geographically, and that can be very effective. It doesn't mean that I, as an ice cream manufacturer or shop, need to know where you are because I'm going to go try to find you. It
Right.
just means that I don't want to advertise to someone who isn't nearby, who
Right.
couldn't walk into my shop and buy an ice cream cone, right? Like that's an extreme example, but these data, I think the point is these data are really important and valuable to advertisers.
Yeah, I'm super happy that company like Google, Apple, they're really taking privacy and ethics very seriously. They talk about it.
Yeah,
Just educating people, talking about it, giving people the options, like you said, in the settings to choose. Yeah, we cannot say enough about that. Especially the
yeah,
the privacy part. So yeah, thank you also to always mention it. To talking about in your book, in your courses. That's
of
really
course.
good. So how to make a good data viz. You have those that graph in the book. Also, you have these different rubrics like the story, the information, the goal, the visual form, and then
Yep.
those can lead to success visualizations. Can you
Yes.
a little bit talk about that?
Yeah. So the way that we like to talk about successful visualizations in terms of three things that they complete successfully, right? One is this idea of demonstrating contrast very effectively. Contrast is the first thing that we see as a viewer, right? Our eyes are drawn to it. We are programmed as humans to really pick those patterns out. And so using contrast effectively to communicate messages, sometimes subliminally, is important. The second piece that good visualizations do are they communicate meaning clearly. They use things like labels, headlines, subtitles, annotations. They use all these different tools that we can use to effectively communicate what does this mean? What's the insight here in the visual that's being presented? And then the third thing that they do is something that we call refined execution. They look nice, they're polished, they're smooth, right? Uh, and so they look appealing to the audience. And when visualizations do those three things and do them effectively, you're going to have a great visual for sure.
Well, that's so important because you talk a lot about to building effective data visualizations. There's a little bit an art into it, right? Like someone, if you present your viz to someone, is they need to understand it in the first few seconds, right? To see
Yeah,
what it's about.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the sign of a very good visual, right? It's that someone is able to look right at that visual and within a few moments understand exactly what it means. And that's the when that's done effectively, all those different components of good visualization are there and present, right? But what we sometimes lose appreciation for is how much work went into
Yes.
building the story, collecting the data, analyzing the data, right? Finding those patterns, all that stuff. That's all the visual just becomes the culmination
Yeah.
of that work. And so when it's done effectively, it can be a really valuable experience for the analyst just to know I did all this work. I collected all these data and I told a great story and here it is visually, right? And when you see an audience really react to the visual you created, it's a really gratifying experience.
Yes, that's true. If you have to be an analyst to understand all the sausage making, because there's a lot
Yes,
of
you
work.
do.
Most people
Yeah,
don't see that. They just see, oh wow, what a good graph. They don't know what you
yeah,
went through.
exactly, precisely.
And one thing also I like is what you talk about the difference between machine learning and AI. So AI is talk, mostly about human rules, machine learning.
Yeah.
The machine create the rules for themselves, and then deep learning is a subset of machine learning.
Yeah.
So can
Yes.
you a little bit talk about that, the machine learning versus AI, to help
Yeah.
people
And I think
understand?
yeah, like all of it is what we call artificial intelligence, right?
Right.
And they're just there are different approaches and different techniques that are used. Deep learning, as we discuss in the book, is the most sophisticated and most effective approach to artificial intelligence, machine learning. It really is teaching a machine to reason and to think, similar to the way that we do it. It's using the same kind of approach in a computer sense that our brain uses to process information, right? So the technology is really here and maturing very quickly.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while, as you know, like a Google map. The reason that Google Maps knows how to most effectively get you from here to here is because of machine learning, and because it's collected tons and tons of data around that and analyzed it and figured it out over time. Most of the time that we are now interacting with customer service reps through a chatbot, this is just a machine learning algorithm that we're talking to that has learned how to simulate a human interaction. And to ChatGPT, which is a fantastic revolutionary tool, but will doubtless be supplanted quickly by new technologies, right, that evolve. I think the fallacy with our understanding of large language models like ChatGPT or any of these technologies is that these tools can think for their own.
Yeah.
And kind of create new ideas, and that's not really how they work. ChatGPT, for instance, as a large language model, has been trained on enormous amounts of human interaction and data, and it does compile that data and synthesize it very, very effectively. But really what it is it is looking at the words that have been used and just predicting what should the next word be. And it's just a series of predictions. So what that means is really two things. I mean, one of them, when you are asking it a question, ChatGPT doesn't really know the answer or have the answer stored. ChatGPT is analyzing those words that you've used, and then it's using its understanding to predict what words would be the right kind of response. It's basing that. So that's the first thing. The second is that it's basing that on words that have already been provided in the public domain, the things that it's connected to, the things that it's learned from. So that means, frankly, that it's not creating new ideas. It's just synthesizing all those ideas that are out there, all those responses to your question. It's predicting which one is best or how to best answer that, but it's not producing anything new. It's not at this point able to stimulate creative thought. That's where I think indeed the technology is really going, is not this idea of synthesizing data that exists. It's how do we get these machines to really think creatively? And it'll be interesting to see where that goes, but I'm sure that's the next frontier.
Hi guys, please don't forget to subscribe. If you didn't do it so far, you can check my YouTube channel, my Udemy courses, my Amazon store. Let's take a look. So this is my YouTube. If you're not subscribed so far, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. You can like, comment, and share. And you can see here my courses on Udemy, my Amazon store, and you can watch all the other videos you like. And here, if you go on Udemy, you can see some of the courses I have here. The complete course on top 41 legit ideas to make money today, ultimate Amazon leadership principle masterclass, a brief beginner's guide to gaming, a brief introduction about America, a great course, starting a business in America as a foreigner. That's a great course with a partnership with Augusta Massey, and Solar System 101 course for all level. This is one of the latest course I have, one of the highest rated course on Udemy. Don't forget to check it out. So this is a snapshot of the solar system course, just the introduction. You can take a look here. And I started with a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, also ended this in introduction with that quote. You can also check my Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/online-school. These are some of the Amazon product I use, and or I can recommend some top pick products. For example, you can see here, this is a list of products I use in producing online campus school videos. Some headphones, microphone, USB, lightning, green screen, laptops, a lot of small equipment that I use. Laptop stand, that's very good for the cooling of your laptop. Anyway, just link in the description. Don't forget to check it out. All right, back to the video. ChatGPT, AI, Google Bard. What a revolution, like the age of AI.
Yes.
This is, no, I don't know if anyone could predict in 2023 we would be here today with ChatGPT and Google Bard. And Google came back really strong. I use both tools. Anytime I'm asking something, I open Google Bard and ChatGPT on the two tabs, and they give me similar answers now. At the beginning, ChatGPT was really, I think, far ahead. Now Google Bard is getting really good. And then a lot of other AI tools is coming in the market. So what your thought on these AI tools? What are some of your favorite AI tools?
Oh, well, I mean, frankly, I love ChatGPT. I think it is a wondrous revolution of a tool. But I feel that, like, I understand what it is, and so I feel that I use it in the right way. I have seen in the universities I've taught in, I've seen many students use it, right? And frankly, the experience has all been the same. It takes those students who are struggling, or students that aren't really putting a lot of effort into their studies. They use that tool and they come out even worse. The students that are very dedicated and working hard use that tool in the right way, and they become even better. And it's because what we find is those poor to middling students simply take the question that was asked of them. They plug that into the ChatGPT bar, and they take the answer, and they think they're done. Wow. And as I was explaining to you, that's not how ChatGPT works. It's looking at your question, it's looking at all the work that's out there, it's synthesizing everything. It doesn't mean that it's accurate. It will definitely make up things. Yeah. And B, it doesn't mean that it's relevant. The kind of instruction that we are giving in the university is always very nuanced and not so straightforward that you could just tap something into a ChatGPT bar and get a response back. But I'll say, like, using it as a way to test your ideas, using it as a way, as a research tool at the beginning to say, tell me everything you know about X, and having it pull the data. I mean, frankly, that's a little more effective than a number of Google searches, right, for that same kind of information. It's a wonderful tool in that way to sort of challenge, to sort of think constructively. I will use it, frankly, to prepare for lectures. I will tell ChatGPT, here are the topics I'm talking about. These are the things I'm presenting. What do you think? What are some questions that students might have? It will formulate some questions that might come back at me. Okay, great. How about this response? Yep. And so it just helps prepare me. And as a preparation tool, it's really a wonderful tool.
So is the AI using us, or are we using the AI?
Yeah, who knows at this point, right? I would like to think we're still in control at this point, for sure. But it's hard to say sometimes.
With all these machine learning algorithms, anytime we feed some questions, it's learning as well as we learn. So will AI replace data analysts in other jobs?
Some of the medial work, like if you have analysts who are some of the data collection, some of the coding, some of the things that a machine could do better, sure, right? But in terms of creative thought, in terms of interpretation, in terms of fitting whatever the analysis is producing in the broader context of the business and developing a set of really actionable recommendations, no, humans need to do that. You might be able to start with what ChatGPT says, but anyone who feels like they can get the secrets to unlocking their business success from ChatGPT is frankly in the wrong business.
Right.
Humans are needed there for all those reasons. To complement the tool, to add creative thought, right? To bring rationality. These are things that we must do. The tool is just an enabler for us. But I will say, those professionals and those analysts who learn how to use ChatGPT and adopt that technology are going to be much more successful than those that haven't. And those that refuse to or don't know how to are going to find themselves far behind, because it just makes you so much faster and more efficient and frankly more effective.
Also, we have a lot of on-field data analyst jobs, because looking at the market, there's a lot of on-field positions that probably AI gonna enhance.
Yeah, I would hope, right? I hope that companies are really taking the large language model adoptions and the development around AI seriously and are able to use it to create better business opportunities for themselves and their partners. But they will definitely need analysts there to drive that change, to drive that benefit for them.
Yeah, I don't know how good the AI is in data cleaning, because I remember, as you know, anytime you collect the data, checking if the sources are credible. Also, I was talking to someone, he was like, if you have missing values, so you have a data set with a lot of missing values, how the AI gonna know that there's a value
Yeah,
missing?
I wouldn't necessarily trust it, right? These are the to your point, right, MD?
Right.
These are the things that a human analyst must bring. I'll tell you it. I'll use it to help me write our code, but it's not particularly effective there as well. If I encounter errors in my R code, it's pretty good at telling me why the error might have occurred and helping me troubleshoot. But to say to it, hey, build me a script that does X, Y, and Z, it's a real hit or miss proposition. But that's developing quickly. And frankly, if I have a tool that just helps me code faster and more effectively, I'm absolutely going to use it.
Yeah, the search market. This is really a big shakeup. As you know the stats about, the leading companies are like Google are very far ahead in search, and now the chatbot, most people are using ChatGPT. I saw now with Google Bard is included with Google. When you do a Google search, now it can give you the chat response and then the links. How these things gonna play out? It's very competitive, very tough market right now. How do you see it?
I mean, well, it's all going to come down to how it monetizes. Google search, just speaking from Google's perspective, that is an enormous amount of Google's revenue, an even bigger percentage, frankly, of their profitability. It's a very profitable platform for them. So if people aren't coming to Google because they're going to ChatGPT, well, then that's affecting Google's revenue straight away. So Google needs to find a way to ensure that people are coming back to google.com, are using the platform, and including Bard and other technologies as an attempt to do that, right? But look, it's changing the world beyond just the search engines. Its effects are really far-reaching.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see that battle, because Microsoft's coming so hard with OpenAI.
Yeah.
Like you said, anytime someone used ChatGPT, it used to be someone who was using Google before using ChatGPT. So it's probably
typically right.
Yeah, Google user. And but I still think the Google business model is good, because they at least for people like me or analysts, it gets you to verify what the AI is telling you, right? So they give you the answer, they give you the Google links, so you can go check those websites, make sure those are credible sources. is a little bit the best of the both worlds. You get a little bit of chatbot, a little bit of the SEO ranking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a big business. Wow. So you don't see anything about the future of data analysts and AI. You think that it's just going to enhance more analysts for the most part?
Well, I mean, I want to be clear, right? It's definitely going to have an impact, but my perspective is those that really understand artificial intelligence lean into it, know how to use it, and help make them better at their job are going to be very successful. Those that don't are going to fall by the wayside. They will be most likely replaced. But it's like any industry, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
any industry that has seen a revolutionary change, there have been winners and losers. And typically the winners are those that embrace that new technology more rapidly and more effectively. And so I see the same thing here with analytics for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about your company, Google.
Yep.
So I wanted to start with the Google Data Analytics program.
Yes.
What was the
very proud
thinking?
of that work.
Yes, a very good job. They have on Coursera as of today more than 1.7 million students already
that's great,
worldwide.
right? Yeah, I'm really proud of that.
Last,
so I was the executive sponsor for that
Okay.
program, and I actually taught a class. I teach the visualization class
yes,
as part of the program. The whole idea there was because we knew data analytics is such an important field, we wanted to give people who didn't have an analytics background, didn't have analytics training, a very accessible certificate-based way to gain some skill, gain some credibility. I mean, you can go through that program, and like you did, MD, I think you start with a base of knowledge, and by the end, you are ready to join a company as an analyst.
Yeah.
That was the intent. The intent was for those who earned the certificate to come out of that job ready, ready to be an entry-level analyst or beyond, right? And so we cover everything from building a plan for your data, to managing that data and collecting it, to analyzing it, to visualizing it, to then telling the story. To your point, we introduce tools like SQL and R, but we also talk about spreadsheets and just the visualization tools like Tableau and some of the more other very important tools for an analyst. So it was designed for a beginner level. It's designed to be very, very accessible, assuming that whoever's taking it has no analytics background whatsoever.
Yeah.
But we still, I think you would agree, we still challenge you.
Yeah, it was
quite a
very
bit.
challenging. Yep.
There's a lot to learn, right? There's a lot to learn. But I am very, very proud of that program, and to see that there's nearly 2 million now.
Yeah.
People who have completed it is really,
And it's
really,
still this is really great. It's still increasing because last month I checked was 1.6, now it's 1.7. It just says it's never ending. So once I finish the program, you have these case studies. I did my case studies. I get inspiration from other grads who did their case studies as well, because we have we have a Kaggle group. People are publishing the Kaggle notebook. I was able to get inspiration, and then I did mine. I also published it on Kaggle that had like 3,000 views. So even with my YouTube, anytime I made a video about that case study, and I have 25K views on that video.
Yeah,
and
great.
Every week people are messaging me, hey, how did you do this? How did you do this? I'm like, here's the Kaggle notebook. And even for myself, if I want to go back to remember everything I went through, because I wrote down all of that, those steps in the notebook, was great. And also we have a LinkedIn group that's very active. People around the world who took the Google Data Analytics certificate, was created by a lady I also interviewed on my YouTube. That LinkedIn group is also growing. It has more than almost 30K members, who are all Google Data Analytics grads. It's a huge community. It's a huge community now.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear.
So one thing, one of the feedback I was getting, a lot of people have been successful, of course, and another question I was getting is why Google didn't give internship after these programs. Like even if
Yeah,
even if it's some remotes, like someone do 1 2 months internship with Google doing some work for them and then put that in their resume.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was that part of the thinking for this program, or is just not possible?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have 1.7 million internship roles, right? Like it's the scale just got we were expecting this to be very, very big. This is even bigger than we thought, but we just
Yeah,
knew we wouldn't have enough opportunity.
yeah.
We have done, and I was the executive sponsor for another program that would bring in people to Google who didn't come from a traditional 4-year college background as well, and kind of bring them in as interns and go through a slight program. I'm not sure now that I've left Google. I don't know the state of that program,
Mhm.
but it's something that Google is always very concerned about: is providing opportunity,
Right.
creating a more diverse workforce. And so these kind of programs were things that we did that helped us there.
Yeah, I also like the the course itself, the foundation, and then the ask phase, the prepare phase, the process, the analyze, share, and act. Just the way it was the design of the course was great because I have a background in engineering and I study a
Mm-hmm.
lot of data, but this is just
Mm-hmm.
one of the my favorite course in the analytics field because it's just the design is great,
Yeah.
the phases are well done, and also when you were talking about SQL, when I'm doing my case study, I was I downloaded the data set on Kaggle and I had like a CSV file who has like millions of rows. And you
Yes.
guys was talking about that, so I tried to open it on Excel or Google Sheet. It could not.
Yeah.
Oh, just it's just taking
No, you
forever.
just wouldn't.
It's taking
Yeah.
forever. I have to use I think the Google Cloud and then use SQL just to extract a
Yep.
few data set so I can play with it. So
Yeah.
it
Which is
was a good,
exactly what you need to do. So
yeah,
well done.
it
Yeah.
was a
You
good
nailed it.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So what's the
Good.
experience working at Google? What is in a timeline? How did
I had
you?
I had a great 11 years. It was a long time. It's particularly in my last role, I was traveling quite a bit, and I have children at home, and um, being gone so much was hard.
Yeah.
And I'm getting older, so I didn't want to spend as much time traveling around to different clients like I was. Um, but I had a wonderful time. Challenged, felt like I was right in the middle of a lot of industry moving and industry shaking experiences. The culture is fantastic, so it was a really great experience. But I'm very, very happy now that I've made the pivot and I've committed myself to academia full time. I could not be happier. This is my role at Notre Dame is just truly what I was designed to do. So I'm very, very happy there.
So a lot of people want to join Google. What's the process? How to get a job at Google?
Yeah, there's no real secret. It's Google's very, very selective, just like any platform,
Yeah.
any big digital brand, right? I think that when we thought about candidates,
Mhm.
we looked at a number of different criteria, and it involved us looking at them in terms of their leadership abilities, how they worked in teams,
Mhm.
their whether or not they sort of demonstrated and embraced the cultural ideas that we have at Google of inclusion and teamwork, um, what their prior experience has been, if the roles that they had in the past were similar to, or at least taught them things that would make them successful in the roles that we had at Google, right? And then, frankly, just how curious they were, how mentally sharp they were, right? The ability to process information and make decisions. Those were sort of under different categories, the ways that we evaluated everyone.
Mhm.
So if you want to get into Google, I would think really, really think about building stories from your past that demonstrate leadership, that
Mhm.
demonstrate your ability to make decisions quickly and demonstrate your ability to work very well in teams. and be prepared to tell stories from your past experience of successes and failures, things that you've learned from that have set you up to be successful at Google, right? And if you can do all that, Google may be the place for you.
Wow. Yeah, it's very selective. And so you have, like a lot of big companies, you have a behavioral part, like you said, having your stories, a leadership skill, and then you have the technical, probably technical interview, depending on the role, right?
Yes. Yeah, the marketing and sales side of Google, so where I was working with brands and advertisers and driving that Google advertising business is different from the engineering side, where there are software engineers that are making the products. But still, you know, we were looking for much the same things. It didn't matter if you were a software engineer or an account executive. You needed to culturally fit at Google. You needed to be a leader. You needed to have relevant and valuable experience, and you needed to have some mental acumen, right? To just move quickly. Because I'll say, Google's a wonderful place. It moves very, very fast.
Yeah.
And is very, very scaled. It does a tremendous amount of work with a very little, very small number of people, frankly. To generate the kind of revenues and things that Google does, you could have several Googles full of people, right? Or the expectation may be that you do. So it for those reasons, it really matters where Google is bringing in, and as a result, they are very selective. But when you're there, it's a wonderful place.
So once you get in, how do you get promotions? How do you move up the ladder?
Yeah, you know, it's a very look. There's a lot of very talented people, right? But I'd say the straightest line to success at Google is embracing its core values, being a good teammate, being collaborative, helping others, building your network, learning, you know, who is in the company doing things that you find interesting that could help you, or you could help them, right? And like I said, Google's very, very scaled. So every single person has a tremendous scope that they're working under. And being able to handle that scope and being successful with that scope usually means you're not doing it alone. You're gaining help. So having those connections and is really important. I think that's what I strove to do. That's what I feel like I did very well by building a real big network at Google, and it really helped me be successful there for 11 years.
Yeah, that's working in an environment where you have the what we call like creme de la creme. Everybody's smart.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's a great life experience. And wow. And so you go in, you get your story right. You apply online like everybody else, and then you compete, you get in, you work with as a team and try to build products, try to have impact, fit in the culture. And then, so what's the life after Google looks like?
I mean, it opens a lot of opportunities, I think, and for that reason. Like, one is because you are, as a Google employee, like I said, you have such a big scale. You are learning so much, and you're doing so much that really, I think that is a great training ground for whatever you wanted to do. And you know, clearly there's a pretty has a pretty good reputation in the world as well. So it that doesn't hurt having it on your resume. But for me, the pivot into teaching full time and working at a university like the University of Notre Dame was just a no-brainer. It's something that I love to do. I love to be involved with problem solving and nurturing students' curiosity and helping them learn from all the experiences that I've had over my life. So it's something that is a wonderful next chapter for me following my time at Google.
Yeah, that's I really like what Google do, especially the business model. Like, they give you 15 gig at Gmail for free, and
Yep.
you get
Yeah, they know what they're
used to
doing.
it. Exactly. They don't have to do it. They give you, you're doing search YouTube for free. It's just amazing to be part of that. The mission is just so, interesting.
Yeah.
But as someone originally from Africa, I wanted to ask you about Google Africa. What's the vision of Google for continent like Africa, or
I
to
would not be able to say.
for other
There are people who would say much better than I, but I had some wonderful exchanges and interactions with people in Joburg, in Cape
right,
Town,
right,
that worked for Google. I worked on a few projects with them. I presented to some of their clients in some events that they put together. Just super smart, super bright people
right.
that I am so much better for knowing and working with. But as for the long term
Yeah.
goals and objectives, that was always above my pay grade at Google.
Because those are untapped market. There's a lot of opportunities over there
Yeah,
as well to replicate what's happening here. But yeah, thank you for sharing these experience
of
and
course.
what you're
Yeah, of
doing.
course.
So once you are not building your business, or you're not teaching, what are some of the your secret to your lifestyle, your hobbies, to balance it out a little bit?
Friends, family, right? I have a great, wonderful family and have lots of great friends. And, I try to keep myself active, just keep myself experiencing things. I love to travel. Just recently returned from a trip to Dublin, which was fantastic.
Oh, wow.
And so I love to travel and experience new things, keep that curiosity going. And just a lifetime of learning, I think is the key, the one thing that I would tell anyone to really embrace.
So for people out there, obviously you're very successful. You want everything we talk about here, your book, your business, working for Google. Some people are struggling. A lot of people are getting laid off, and
Mhm.
we have new high school graduate looking for a first job. People are looking for meaning in their life.
Mhm.
How can someone build a successful life? What's your and hopeful advice and message you have for people all over the
Yeah,
world?
yeah. I think and it's not. Look, it's not my philosophy. It's what I've chosen to embrace is the Ikigai Japanese philosophy, and it's the idea that there are four important questions you need to answer for yourself. First is, what do you love to do? Second is, what are you good at? The third is, what is there a need for in the world? And the fourth is, what will people pay for? And if you can think in terms of those four questions, you may be fortunate like me and find a job that you love, that you're reasonably good at, that there's a need for, and that people will pay you to do. So my teaching at Notre Dame, the analytics work that I did at Google, all those things, I love them, pretty good at it, definitely a need, and I could earn a living on it. But by thinking of things that way, you also understand the trade-offs. If what's important to you is to make a lot of money and find that thing that people are willing to pay for, well, make sure that there's a demand for it in the world, and make sure you're good at it. Doesn't matter if you love it or not. If you are someone who wants to live a service-driven, purposeful life, then embrace that, love that, become good at it. There's definitely a need to work with refugees or any other cause in the world, but there's just not a lot of money there. So just accept that you're not going to make a lot of money, right? And once you understand that and really find balance, then you'll be much happier.
Wow.
Right? You'll be much happier. But it really does take some introspection and getting true, honest answers to those four questions, and using that as a little bit of guide. I came across that some time ago, and once I did, just a light bulb went off, and I realized that these are the ways I should think about my career and how I should approach things. So it was a really important learning for me.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a book. That's a book in itself. What you just said.
It is. Indeed.
You could write a book like, you know, what you love, what you're good at, the needs, and what people already willing to pay for. Wow, what a great advice. Thank you so much, Kevin. I know
Course,
you
indeed.
have a
So
very
nice to see you.
you have a very busy
Yes,
schedule, so I'm gonna let you go. But thank you for being here. I hope we can keep in touch and collaborate in the
of
future
course.
as well.
Yes, please
Thank
do.
you.
Please do. It was wonderful seeing you and wonderful spending some time with you. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.